Darwin? Darwin! Darwin? Where the hell is he? It's hard to tell with gloves on, but the Speed Force cannon is still warm. Wherever Darwin is, whatever happened here, not enough time has passed for him to be missing like this. I don't get it. If I didn't see him when running in, then where could he be? He didn't leave his phone behind, and there aren't any apparent signs of a struggle for me to assume he was abducted. This doesn't make any sense. Darwin said Selkirk was here, but the lever is down, and the breach is closed. Did Darwin do it, or could Selkirk have? I need to treat this like a crime scene if I'm going to figure out what happened after Darwin called. In that case, time is of the essence, so I'll have to make do without any of my usual forensics equipment. Come on, think, Barry. What here feels out of place? There has to be something in this room that can give me a clue. The clock! This ticking! It's just as I thought. The clock doesn't run on batteries, it's mechanical. If that's the case, then how come I didn't hear any ticking over the phone whenever Darwin called?
Barry, there's been a security breach here. I think it's Selkirk. I think he's coming for the Speed Force. Ah!
Did he not call from this room, or is there another reason that I didn't hear it? It couldn't have malfunctioned, because then it wouldn't have resumed ticking once I arrived. What explanation is there for the clock if Darwin was calling from here and not somewhere else? Wait a second. The ticking stopped. Time to test the theory. It works. If I match the pace of the processing speeds of my phone with the speed force in my body, then the call still goes through even though the clock stops. That explains why the ticking was missing when Darwin called me. The speed force breach must have affected the room, which could also be the reason why Darwin pulled the lever. In that case, if Selkirk really was here and now Darwin is missing, then my hunch that Darwin was taken could be correct. This just turned into a kidnapping, and that means my double life has just become one and the same.
All right, Barry. What was so urgent that you had to see me in my office?
It's Darwin Elias. He's been taken captive. I need you to greenlight an investigation for me to evaluate the scene of crime.
What? Is he a hostage? Is there a ransom of some kind?
Well, no, not exactly. He's just missing, but it's the nature of his absence that makes it seem like an abduction.
I see. How did you say you came by this information?
Flash told me. That's unimportant. What matters is that missing persons cases have a critical window of time before the odds of finding them drops to zero. So you need to greenlight the investigation so we can get on with this already.
I'm afraid it just isn't that simple.
What do you mean it isn't that simple?
I mean there's certain conditions that need to be met for a case like this. What you've presented me is from the hearsay of a vigilante. No matter whether it's the Flash, or if it were even Superman, the law doesn't operate on goodwill alone.
I thought we moved past that. I thought you supported the Flash now.
This has nothing to do with my personal feelings. What I'm talking about is the legality of allowing you to perform forensics without a legitimate basis.
If I'm right about this being a kidnapping, then that man's life is in danger. That may not be a legitimate basis, but it's a reasonable one.
Which is why I'm going to give you a solution for finding your missing person, without having to meet the qualifications needed to open that case yourself. If you can get a detective to head the case, then they can grant you access to the investigation. Do you know of any that might be willing to do that for you?
Actually, thanks again for doing this, Ralph.
Oh, no problem. What's this all about anyways?
Fred said that I need you as a reason to gather some trace evidence before I can analyze it in the crime lab. I'll try not to take up too much of your time.
Oh, there's no hurry. Just let me know if you see anything, though.
The optic glasses are showing me a decomposed residue, one that's invisible to the naked eye. I'll need to collect a sample if I'm going to figure out what it is.
I don't know, Barry. This place looks pretty clean. Maybe we should just test for fingerprints and wish for the best.
Normally, I'd argue that there's better ways to collect evidence. In this case, though, I think you might be right.
At least you're admitting it.
On the contrary, I planned from the very beginning to get a dactylogram. I noticed right away that this lever was left in a position that would suggest somebody pulled it.
Let's just hope that person wasn't wearing any gloves.
At least we know whether the person who pulled the lever was the perpetrator or the victim. Wait, it looks to only be partial, but there really is a print left behind.
Talk about a lucky break. So I take that you're finished here?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Fast and effective as usual, Alan. Alright then. I'll go let the crimes unit know that you're wrapping up things so they can come in.
That's my cue. God, this is taking too long.
I could hear you complaining through the door. Is it about the computer being too slow again?
You know me too well. Is that why you're here? To check up on me?
Pretty much. Actually, what are you doing?
I can explain, but beware, math is involved.
Forget I asked.
I was only joking. Put simply, I'm creating various chemicals in an attempt to reconstruct the decomposed residue from a crime scene. If I can find the right composition, then I'll be able to match it and know what the residue was before it died. I'm going to compare each decomposition to figure out what chemical it was that I found.
You're going to make and match every chemical? But isn't that impossible?
I'm going to have my powers and speed up the process.
Well, you've got a point there. Where would you even think to start, though? Is there some sort of index to use as a list for crossing off?
What, like the periodic table? There's really no right or wrong way of trying to get lucky with results. I'm just using chemical combinations that I'm familiar with for now, since those are least likely to have miscalculations for myself. Wait, these are too similar to be a coincidence.
There's no way that you've already figured it out.
I wish that were true. The only reason that I recognize this chemical compound is because it's the same kind as the one I turned into a gaseous state in order to compress my uniform inside of my ring.
What? But what are the odds that somebody is using those same chemicals?
Slim to none, especially when I found those residue traces in Darwin's lab. It's probably just the remnants of whenever I'd put on my costume.
Wait, what does this have to do with Darwin's lab?
Oh, Fiona, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. Darwin is missing.
Missing? You think he was abducted?
I thought that my analysis would provide a chemical trail to follow, but that doesn't matter, Fiona. I'm going to find him.
Right. There's still the fingerprints as evidence.
It's probably just Darwin's or my own, but you're right that we should stay positive. No. No!
He actually escaped.
Fiona, listen to me. You need to go. Get far away from me. There's no telling what Thawne is planning and who he's going after. I can't focus on Darwin if I'm worried about you as well.
I'm more worried about you. Are you going to be okay?
I'll be fine. Just promise me that you'll be okay.
I promise you won't have to worry about me.
Good. I'm going to check on my dad now. Thawne could try getting to him again too.
Then you should get there first.
Catch anything?
Oh, Barry! Thank you for letting me know that you're here without creating a sonic boom. I think that would have scared off all the fish.
Yeah, I know better by now.
But no pizza from Italy? You have too much confidence in your old man if you think I'm catching dinner.
Sorry, Dad. You'll have to make do with the local pizza from now on.
What's that supposed to mean? You can't do your old man a favor and run 5,000 miles?
6,000 miles, but that's not important. Dad, I came here because I have something serious to talk to you about.
Are you finally going to ask that pretty girlfriend of yours to marry you?
What? No. I mean, not yet. Maybe I can. With a normal life. One without the flash where I'd not have to worry about enemies attacking a family that I've made.
Son, I thought we already been through this. Fiona is a police officer, and that puts her in danger regardless of what enemies you make as the Flash.
Can a child protect itself? Would Fiona or I even be able to protect one? What if Thawne were to... I just can't bring myself to think about that.
Thawne has already taken so much from you, Barry. Thawne took your mother, and then he took me, your father. Thawne robbed you of a childhood. Don't let Thawne steal the opportunity you have for parenthood. Don't allow that man to ruin another day of your life. Not anymore.
I just wish that I could have proven your innocence. Instead, here you are out in the woods, like you're the animal that killed Mom instead of Thawne.
I don't look at it that way, Barry. Not at all. You dedicated your life to stopping the man who murdered your mother, and you did that. Thawne was brought to justice, and that's all that matters. Now, I want you to stop trying to live for me or your mother. I want you to live for yourself. Whether that be as the Flash or not, I want you to make the choice to live for you.
What if I don't know what I want?
Move forward until you do know. Can you do that for me, son?
Yeah, I think I can.
Attaboy.
I can't let Thawne take more from me. He's always been one step ahead, orchestrating my moves like I'm a puppet, and he's the one that has control of my strings. He's always the one to strike first. He's always the one who chooses when the climax should take place. I can't let that happen again. I need to be the one that brings the fight to him. When he took Daryl hostage and lured me in, it was different from the time that he first took Darwin. There were prerequisites, a lot premeditated and planned. But wait, that preparation took time he didn't have now. That's why he brought me back to where Daryl died, when he gloated. Could it be? Where he first kept Darwin, could he have taken him back there? Is his ego truly that inflated? It is. He might know me better than I know myself, but that's a two-way road, which means that I can predict him just the same.
Barry!
Yes, Barry. I thought that you'd get here faster. Wait, Barry. I said wait, damn you. We don't have to fight.
Like how we don't?
This whole exchange, it's one that I wanted to avoid. It's me, Barry. It's Wally.
How dare you? How dare you tarnish that boy's memory by claiming his identity to be your own?
Just look at me, Barry. I've grown old. I aged. My scars are just as much on the outside as they are on the inside.
You can't be. How? Why?
I've lived entire lifetimes in the Speed Force. What feels like a second to you out here is an entire decade in there. I thought you'd never come for me. I thought you'd abandon me.
Wally, I didn't.
You didn't mean to? I know. I don't blame you, Barry. Not as much as I did for a while. Remember, I've had an eternity to mull things over. I know that the Speed Force is what I should really be blaming.
I can imagine how difficult it is to wrap your head around, especially when you've only got half of the full story.
No, I understand now. Why you aren't tied up. why you're cooperating with him. You two have been working together this whole time. What you said about Wally's DNA being the thing that could bring him back from the Speed Force.
Wally had blood bags stored during his time as Kid Flash in case we needed to perform an emergency medical procedure. So to pinpoint someone, I thought of encoding DNA.
It worked, didn't it? Whenever we thought someone else had come through, it was really Wally. His DNA located him and brought him back. It makes sense now. The comparison to the ocean that you made and Wally calling himself Selkirk.
Imagine the Speed Force is like the ocean.
Selkirk is an explorer that got lost in the Pacific Ocean.
Something so vast would be difficult to find anyone in.
You two were collaborating to do something with the Speed Force. Behind my back, though? Why not just tell me?
We all know that you would have still tried to stop us.
I guess you're right. Not so long as you're working with Thawne.
Thawne?
Ah, Barry. Always with a scapegoat to blame for your misdeeds. You and I have been hurt by the same man. Our lives are forever affected by his selfish choices. You know how hard it is to find someone who empathizes with what he's done to us? And it would mean, oh, so much to me if you'd share in my pain. You were going to have a baby girl and a baby boy. The Flash took that future away from you.
Thawne! What the?
A replica of Captain Cold's cold gun, when he wasn't a metahuman capable of creating his own ice.
Right.
Why, Darwin?
Professor. It's Professor.
Thawne.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Surprised?
Not as much as you thought I would be. It actually all makes sense now. Why the clock in the lab stopped when you made that fraudulent phone call about being attacked. Our ability to manipulate time doesn't apply to digital or mechanical, which is why the Speed Force cannon was still warm whenever I touched it. The fingerprints that I dusted off the lever took a long time to process correctly, and were only partial because of the alterations you made whenever wearing your false face. But to think, you've been tricking me this whole time.
Rest assured, Barry. I wasn't playing the role of Darwin Elias for any longer than when you caught what you've reduced to a pile of paste over there. Really, did you think Garrick's primitive speed-dampening maneuver would be enough to stop anything lesser than a clone? The real Darwin Elias died the day that I'd taken him hostage. I took him after Wally and Max sacrificed themselves for you, and with me he stayed. After seeing how capable the Pollux version of you could be, I realized that Professor Elias could be of use to me as well, thus granting me the perfect decoy. As you can see, that worked wonders. Your little speed-sapping trick made the clone's molecules dissolve and combust. Admittedly, that wasn't my original plan. After my clone willingly lost his fight against you and became imprisoned, I was prepared to pursue you into the Flashpoint paradox that you created, where I could end your life without worrying about the consequences of my existence ceasing. It would have worked if it hadn't been for Thomas Wayne stabbing me in the back. Afterwards, I had to alter my plan a bit. I had to bide my time and play the part of Professor Elias a while longer. As you can see, it involved fooling poor Wally. I used Darwin's face to gain his trust and convince him that the Speed Force needed closing. This time, it worked like a charm, and here we are, where my plan can now fully flourish. Nobody has ever truly challenged you, Flash. That whelp, Godspeed, or the imposter named Zolomon, both are insults to our kind. Grodd? No matter how much of a genius an ape thinks itself to be, it's still merely an ape.
What exactly is your plan?
I've cracked the Speed Force, literally and metaphorically. The key to it is how it affects time. If I can bypass the effects of time, then there's no reason to worry about the repercussions of killing you. That's what this machine is for.
You just can't pass up an opportunity to gloat, huh? Never changed, Thon. While you were busy talking, I was busy building up a kinetical charge in my palm. Ah! I'm ending this. Now.
Oh, Barry. Always so certain of your own superiority that you can outrun everything. But you won't escape me. Pardon us. Does that ever work? I could beat that move with a snap of my
fingers. Wally!
Worry about yourself, Flash. Even in death, Wally West dedicates his life to prolonging your own. How pathetic. No matter. This isn't over. Far from it. Until the next lap of our race, Barry, it's only a matter of time.
Wally, you...
Just stop. Listen, Barry, I had no idea it was Thawne. You have to believe me. I thought Darwin and I were closing the Speed Force to stop people like Thawne.
Of course I believe you, Wally. Let's...
It was all I could do, Barry. The most I could manage was warding him off for you. I'm sorry that I couldn't do more. I could never do enough.
Wally? Wally? Wally?